Hi everyone, it's David Wheeler at Wycombe Wanderers and you're listening to the Wycombe Wanderers Show.
Welcome to this week's edition of the Wycombe Wanderers Show. Lots to bring you ahead of, it's been a while, hasn't it, since football. Ahead of the trip to Lincoln on Saturday, we'll hear from manager Matt Bloomfield. It's been the EFL's week of action. We'll catch up with Phil in a few moments' time, who appears in a number of guises on the show this evening as well, including currently he'll be making his way towards the Fans Forum, which is taking place in the Caledonian Suites. This evening we hope to bring you something from that as well. We'll hear, as I say, from the manager a bit later on as well. We'll hear also from Neil Peters, who's the head of operations at the club as well. He was speaking yesterday at the Sustainability Conference, which was taking place at Buckinghamshire New University. We'll also catch up with Arindam, who's one of the newest signings for Wycombe Wanderers Foundation, who, as we say, have been having their week of action. We'll catch up with JDT, John Taylor, who is the Vice Chairman of Wycombe Wanderers Ex-Players Association and host/co-host of the annual dinner which took place last week. I was very fortunate to be in attendance there as well. We'll hear from a couple of the former players, of course, who were there as well, and catch up with him to review the evening. Thanks to Wycombe Wanderers women as well. We're following the chair girls who were up at Creswick, many of them, a short time ago. I saw a photograph on social media. They looked very cold. We'll be catching up with Danielle Puddefoot, who, or Puds, as you might have heard her referred to recently by Kayla. Appropriate, considering Children in Need was recently. I don't know if that's funny. It probably isn't. But that's on the way in the next hour. But first, let's catch up with Phil, who we spoke to a little earlier on. If it sounds like he's doing some laps of Adams Park, that's exactly what he's doing after the international break. And nice for the players to have a bit of a break as well.
Yeah, I think, a break physically, mentally, can always be seen as a positive thing. The backdrop that the run is so good that you want to just keep going. But, the results that did happen in League One over the weekend would have given everyone a massive boost as well. Wrexham losing to Stockport, which on many levels was an excellent result, because I think it really put our result at Stockport into context. It's meant that we're now 4 points clear of Wrexham with the game in hand. Which really helps us in our position at the top of the table. So, yeah, I think it was a good weekend to not play. Obviously you can't really answer that question fully until the rearranged game has been played, which won't be until whenever that gets put in. So, but yeah, I think, Matt Bloomfield he's very realistic and about what management's all about, and, being adaptable is the big one. And, you've got to adapt to these situations. It was 9 or 10 days notice of the game being called off, and he would have immediately looked at the schedule and seen where the loading was in the players and made the call, and would have given them the time off that he felt was needed. And let's see what comes back from that. I mean, since the last international break, I think we've won every single game. So, they've got good form in reading these data sheets of loading on players, etc., and knowing what their gut tells them as well. So, the results don't lie. So hopefully we can see another fruitful period now. If we can win every game before the next international break, then that would be great, because it's not until March now, which will be music to many football fans' ears. No, absolutely, because I think many are disappointed, aren't they, that some of the Saturday games have been put back to a Tuesday night. Yeah, it's not ideal, is it? Especially if you're making big plans, or if you earmark a particular home game for a special event or whatever it is, and they get cancelled at short notice. That's really not what anybody wants. So yeah, I think it is what it is. This international thing. I really hope the EFL look at it in the summer, and it's not something that we have to deal with in League One anymore. Or alternatively, if the team can continue their excellent form, and we don't have to be in League One next year. So let's see. And you imagine as well, it must be great motivation for the players to get back to action after a break, knowing that the great run that they are on. Yeah, they'll be chomping at the bit, definitely, and hopefully sort of rested and recuperated and sort of had a mental break as well from everything, and come back into it. And this is a real cliche now, Colin. There's some tough games coming up, but I looked at the run we had coming into the international break, and there were some really tough games in there too. So, and the results were great. So I don't think we can be afraid of anybody in League One. I think that's what's been proven in the first, 14 games of the season. We shouldn't fear anybody. The two games we have lost were narrow defeats against two of the big spenders in the division. And since then, it's been phenomenal football. There's been lots of goals scored. They're tightening up at the back as well. So all the signs are good. So, but like you say, the break is about how you respond to it and how you come back from it. And it's a big game on Saturday in a place where every time we've gone to Lincoln, it's certainly in recent years, it's been a really, really tough game. It's been sort of quite a physical, brutal game at times as well. I think both teams have come a long way from that style of football. Wycombe under Matt Bloomfield, and then Skabala at Lincoln, who is, a good friend and an acquaintance with Matt Bloomfield. So they'll know each other's game inside out, I think. So I'm looking forward to an entertaining game in what has been a really tough place to go in recent years.
And Lincoln, they're doing pretty well, aren't they? They're one of a cluster of 8 teams who've got 7 wins, along with Mansfield, of course, who are our next opponents. But of course, we're only taking one game at a time.
Oh yeah, there's another cliche. We should have a little cliche bells going off here. But the Skabala's done really well at Lincoln. It mirrors a little bit the Wycombe pattern, because it took him a bit of time to go in and get his philosophy and his thoughts across to the squad, get the players he probably wanted in, and that's what happens. We've seen how long that can take here at Wycombe, but once you've got it right, you can see what can happen too. So. But I think this is going to be 2 quite similar sized clubs, with similar, setups coming up against each other on Saturday. We've got the better form going into it, but like you say, Lincoln's form is not to be sneezed at coming into this either. So I think it's an intriguing tie.
And not unrealistic to expect 2 goals from the visiting team at least.
That would be nice. Obviously we only got the one at Lincoln, but that was at Wigan, so even that was enough. But yeah, we're averaging, I think, 2.223 goals a game, I think, in the league this season. And of late as well, there's been a lot of goals flying in. So I think not many people will be back in a 0-0. So I don't want to jinx it, but yeah, it'll be an interesting day. And the great thing now is you go to a Wycombe Wanderers game and you're really keenly anticipating the hour before kickoff when the team sheet hits, because there's so much sort of choice and variety for the manager to choose from, and that's not doing down the players who aren't on the starting lineup whenever the games are announced, because we've seen the people come off the bench and have a real impact on the game, which Matt Bloomfield suggests is their job as well. But there's a real anticipation and excitement now about when the team comes out at 2:00 on a Saturday.
And so many exciting and good news stories amongst the team as well. The return of Brandon Hanlon, of course. Fred being exciting what he can do. Richard Koenig continuing his good form as well.
Yeah, and Brandon scoring against Crawley in the Bristol Street Motors Trophy in what was a tight game in the end. And Wycombe did enough to get out of the group. But the big talking point that night was Brandon's goal, and everyone at the club was absolutely delighted for him. And it's credit as well to the medical team that have helped Brandon. It was just over a year to the day since he did the injury against Stevenage, and rupturing your anterior cruciate ligament. Having done it myself, it's a brutal injury, and when even with the backing of a professional football club and all of the excellent people that go into the rehab and the surgery, etc., it's still a year. It's still a year of your life, and to see the ball hit the back of the net for Brandon 3 minutes into that game, his first start since coming back from injury, was fantastic for him. It's fantastic for everyone that's been with him along that journey. So great to see. And Luke Leahy as well, his set piece, brilliant. He's been a real he's exactly what Matt Bloomfield wants, because he may be wanting to start more games in the league than he has been so far this season, but when he does get the nod in the cup games and when he's been involved in the league as well, he's delivered, and he's given Matt Bloomfield some big decisions to make, and that's what you want from the players on the bench and not starting. That's all he can do, and he's doing it brilliantly. And that's where we go back to that excitement at 2:00 about who's going to be in and who's going to be doing what. And the stuff that Luke Leahy's done so far this season has been excellent. The 2 free kicks in the cup competitions have been marvellous.
It must be quite a headache for the manager.
Yes, it's a positive headache, isn't it? And is that another cliche?
I think so.
It is. Yeah. So it's a great problem to have, and like we said many times before on this show, you don't have to roll the clock back too many years to remember the likes of Lee Harrison and Gareth Ainsworth on the bench, well into their 40s, making up the numbers. Those days are over, which is a good thing. I think we've got real excitement now coming off the bench, and we haven't seen it too many times this season where we've needed someone to come on and do things. There's been a couple of occasions. I think Richard Kone coming on and against Peterborough. That was one example. But there's not been too many occasions where we've had to chase something and do something from the bench. But when we have had to do that, we've been able to deliver off the bench. And we've been able to see things out from the bench too. So the options are there. Everyone's excited about them, and it's about managing those now as well. And I'm sure Matt Bloomfield will appreciate the good headaches when they come.
And something else that's really positive from this week is the EFL Week of Action, a great opportunity for all clubs, but obviously especially ours, to show what can be done in the community and how influential the club and players can be.
Yeah, it's hugely important. It's great that the EFL do this, a week of action, but it really is sort of 52 weeks a year for football clubs and what they do in the community. Both us as a club and the club's foundation do a huge amount of work, varied work as well. And it's not just about football, and we are part of the community. And if you think about Adams Park as it's a community hub, yes, we're on the edge of town, but there's nothing else in town or across the country and across cities and towns. There's nothing like football clubs in terms of bringing people together from all walks of life, all different backgrounds, races, religions, socio-economic groups, etc. If you see the makeup of a football crowd on a Saturday or a Tuesday here at Adams Park, it's the full range of people, and there's not many things in society that can do that. And football clubs are the heartbeat of their community, in my opinion. It's great the EFL spend a week, celebrating what we do and showing that, because, there'll be people out there who may listen to this who may not be football fans, who just think it's, 11 people on a team kicking a ball around, but there's a lot more to it than that. Football means a hell of a lot to people, and it gives them an identity. It promotes the town across the country. It does so much for High Wycombe, and it's great that we can be part of the community here.
I like the idea that might be people listening who aren't football fans. They just sort of tuned in and thought, "Oh, this is quite nice. Quite like this."
Who's this guy?
Just chat about anything. It's brilliant. Really appreciate your time. Thank you so much.
My pleasure, Colin. Take care.
Great chatting to you, Phil, and big hello to you if you're not a football fan and you've just tuned in. Wycombe Wanderers were due to be playing Huddersfield Town on Saturday. That game was postponed because of international call-ups for the opposition. That game's been rescheduled for the 7th of January. That's a Tuesday night. In other fixture news, Wycombe Wanderers will play at home to either Leyton Orient, Northampton Town, Reading or Swindon Town in the round of 32 for the Bristol Street Motors Trophy. The draw takes place tomorrow evening, this evening, recently, depending if you're listening to the podcast and when, but the ties will be played week commencing the 9th of December, so one of those teams Wycombe will be in action against in the Bristol Street Motors Trophy. Phil mentioned the EFL Week of Action and the foundation doing some fantastic work. Let's meet one of their newest signings.
Hi everyone, I'm Arindam Bandral, your new Community Engagement Officer here at Wycombe Wanderers Foundation. I'm originally from India, but I moved to the UK a couple of years ago to do my Masters in Sports Management at the University of Bath. After completing my degree, I was looking for a role that combined my love for football and community work. And honestly, I couldn't be happier to have joined this team at Wycombe. I've only been here a month, but it already feels like home. And I'm not even exaggerating. Though I still got no clue how to dodge the Marlow Hill traffic. If anyone got tips, I'm all ears. Now you might be wondering, who's this new guy? And how is he going to connect with the community? I think it's a fair question. And to answer that, I would just say that I've been diving right in, meeting amazing people, and getting a real feel of what makes this community special. My goal is to bring everyone together. Whether you are a lifelong fan, someone new to football, part of the LGBTQI+ community, women and girls, or someone with a disability. At the end of the day, football is for everyone. I want to make sure you all feel like a valued part of this club. As you know, Wycombe Wanderers isn't just any football club. It's a family known for having a bond between the fans and the team that you don't see anywhere else. Along with the Wycombe Wanderers Foundation, which is the charity arm of the club, they work together to make a real difference in people's life. From supporting mental health and well-being initiatives to creating inclusive sports programs for all ages. They are the heart and soul of what makes this club more than just a team. It's a family that looks out for the whole community. My job is to build up on this by bringing new ideas and projects that connects people, improves well-being, and celebrates the diversity of this amazing town. So, Over the next 6 months, I will be focusing on deepening these connections, listening to your feedback, and making sure we're creating a space where everyone can enjoy football. You will find me in the town centre once a week, so if you spot me, please come and say hello. Whether it's a suggestion, a quick chat, or just to tell me your favourite Wycombe spot, I would love to hear from you. And if you prefer, you can always reach out to me via email. All the details are on the foundation's website. At the end, I would just like to say that I'm also incredibly fortunate to be supported by two brilliant individuals. Danielle Puddefoot, our volunteer community engagement officer, and Juliet Schuyler, our project manager. They both bring a wealth of experience, and along with juggling a million other things, they have been supporting me with their valuable feedback and fresh ideas. So thank you for listening, and I hope to see more of you soon and work together to make something truly special here at Wycombe. Cheers.
Real pleasure having Arindam on the show, and I'm sure you'll be hearing more from him in the coming weeks and months as well. The club's head of business operations, Neil Peters, was a guest speaker at Buckinghamshire New University's first ever sustainability conference this week. It was hosted by the university's Business and Law School. Neil talked guests through the club's sustainability strategy, and we caught up with him just before his presentation.
Bucks New University are a huge partner of the clubs anyway, so I'm delighted that we're involved in speaking at the sustainability event, and what the club's done over the last 2 years really to make it far more sustainable, far more green, and it's just a pleasure to be invited to a big partner and to be part of this great event.
So what are some of the things the football club can do to be more sustainable?
Well, at the moment what we can do is complete a carbon audit footprint, which is happening. So we've done an awful lot over the last 2 years. We've nothing goes to landfill. Single-use plastic is completely out the window. Most of the stadium has LED lights. We use whiff away for waterless urinal technology. So let's be fair, our water consumption's gone down. There's a saving there, but it's also obviously great for the planet. There's EV car charging points. So a lot of the small things that you can do, we've done. The big things, such as changing your energy to 100% renewable energy, you can only do every 3 years when your contract closes. Although we've done it, we've signed for January 26. It will be 100% renewable energy. But yeah, we've done a lot of things, and now we're looking at installing potentially solar over the next few months and the carbon footprint, which will give us some more indications as to what we can do to improve.
You're not just looking to be sustainable, but actually lead the way in sustainability for a football club?
Well, the EFL actually, for the first time, has just recently launched its sort of green code, or rebirth of the green code, where they will be asking clubs to take part. So far, out of 72 clubs, 36 have said yes. And you will be judged bronze, silver and gold. At this moment in time, I feel confident Wycombe Wanderers will get the silver, which is some going. It's a 32-year-old stadium. It wasn't built to be sustainable. It wasn't built with, local authority building regulations these days for the infrastructure you need to be sustainable. So I think really we've done an awful lot. There's an awful lot we can do. And it's one of those things, it's going to be forever going. You can't just rest on your laurels. You don't do a bit and say, well done. You have to do a bit and then look at the next challenge.
You must be so proud of someone like David Wheeler as well, being a PFA sustainability champion.
There's quite a strong link there, isn't there? David is a great ambassador for sustainability. He's pushed me as head of operations to make sure the stadium is as good as it is. So he's worked intrinsically with me. I'm proud of him. He's a good guy. He stands up for what he believes in. He's intelligent. And I think at the end of the day, we wouldn't be in the position we're in perhaps without him sort of kicking our heels from behind.
And what would you say are your goals in terms of sustainability?
I think it would be great to see, potentially, we're having discussions at the moment to see solar panels come in. You can imagine at a football stadium, Sunday to Friday, there's a degree of energy being used, and then you get to match day Saturday and it spikes hugely. We're looking at using solar panels to store into batteries and then to use that battery storage on a match day. So that's sort of the next big one for us. That would be great because it's, there's an investment to a point there. There is a return. With most sustainable things, there's a return. Eventually, you end up spending less money. But there's a bit of operational movement to get solar panels on roofs for stands. So I'm not saying it is happening, but certainly we are in the closing stages, perhaps, of maybe agreeing that.
and this is something that supporters can get involved with and contribute to as well.
Yeah, 100%. I mean, the big one I would say for any supporter is if you're drinking outside using our plastic glasses that are washable and reusable, please don't put them in a normal bin. Please put them in the bins provided so they can be washed and used the following week. So that's immediately something our supporters can be involved with. The supporters of the ground can't really be involved in an awful lot more. It's what we provide them, whether it's packaging, single-use plastic, clean energy. That's down to us. But what the supporters can do is maybe learn from the example the club set and go home and do the same. Make sure their recycling is good, lights are turned off, there's not excessive use of water. So I'm hoping at some point we begin to influence the fans that come to the stadium to sort of carry on that journey at home.
Real pleasure to have Neil Peters on the show chatting about the club's sustainability strategy.
Across High Wycombe and South Buckinghamshire, and on your smart speaker.
Play Wycombe Sound.
This is Wycombe Sound.
Part 2 of this week's Wycombe Wanderers Show still to come. We'll hear from the manager, Matt Bloomfield, speaking ahead of Saturday's trip to Lincoln, and with Wycombe Wanderers women back in action this weekend as well. We'll speak to one of their midfielders. But first, if you're listening last week, or indeed many of the weeks in the run-up to last week, you'll know that the 14th annual Wycombe Wanderers Ex-Players Association annual dinner was staged at Adams Park. Some fantastic guests, including Scott McLeish, who was among those who got presented with a fantastic award, of course, not least for his contribution for being the record goal scorer in a season. The theme of the evening was 30 years in the Football League, and Phil spoke to a couple of those in attendance, including a Wycombe Wanderers legend. But first, Marcus Bean.
Beanie, great to see you. We're celebrating Wycombe Wanderers Football League era, and one of the most memorable moments, you scored that goal. That's one of the highlights in the last 30 years, and you're still smiling about it now.
Yeah, big grin on myself face. Yeah, that was a great day for me and my family and everybody involved at the club. I think it was one that everybody kind of remembers and everyone remembers me for. So yeah, it was good times.
And that game, we were dead and buried, down to 10 men, down 1 goal in injury time. That era of Wycombe Wanderers, I think that game and result summed up the spirit of that time.
Yeah, that was a season and an era full of late goals and people just pulling together and fighting right to the end, summed up by the gaffer Gaz, who brought everybody together. It was good times. I loved my time here, for sure.
You weren't known for your goal scoring, but it was worth the wait, wasn't it?
Yeah, I was getting a running joke. Everyone saying shoot every time I got on the ball. So yeah, it's good to put that to bed, for sure. And
my favourite bit about it is they made the T-shirt, and then a week later you did it again.
I know that was a marking down the drain, yeah. But yeah, the week later I think it was not as spectacular, like a little tapping on the line against Exeter away. So yeah, ruined that for everybody.
And what's it like to be here? There's going to be a lot of familiar faces here, right the way back from the early 90s and before that even as well. What's it like to see your old teammates and faces from around the club?
It's great to meet new people, and learn a bit more about the history. Obviously, there's loads of people that came before us.
Yeah. From the 50s.
Exactly, there you go, yeah. Just met a former player from the 50s. Apparently he's a bit of a ball hogger. So it's just here. I love hearing all the old stories, what football used to be like. It's brilliant.
Well, Len, you'd have loved playing with Beanie because he'd have got the ball in midfield, and the first thing he'd have done is given it to you on the wing, I reckon.
Good. Yeah, I would have enjoyed that, given the chance, yeah. The trouble is I'm much older than he is. Yeah.
You're looking good, Len, as ever. And for you to be as part of the Ex-Players Association as well, this is celebrating the Football League era. But if it wasn't for the likes of you guys, Wycombe would have been in the position to get in the Football League in the first place. You've all done a big shift for this club.
Oh, yeah, absolutely. I mean, the club has actually made really superb progress over the years. Very progressive club. Great club to belong to. Yeah. It's an honour, to be associated with them.
And just remind us of the era that you played for Wycombe Wanderers.
50s and 60s. That really dates me, doesn't it? Yeah.
Well, Len, it's great to see you.
54, I think, I had my first game. Yeah. I was 17. Yeah. And then I had 15 years here.
Incredible. Well, have a lovely evening tonight. Always good to see you, Len.
And you. Thanks a lot.
Real pleasure hearing from Len Worley, of course, the legendary Wycombe Wanderers winger who I was fortunate to share a table with on the event itself. I'm really pleased to say we can hear from JDT now, of course, who co-hosted it along with John Bignell. And JDT, it was a fantastic evening.
Yes, it was a marvellous night, actually. Probably we've done 14 dinners now, and that was probably the most all-embracing one that we've done. We've had for different single events, but this one covering 30 years was just something special. And of course the guest list was phenomenal, to get people like Bayo and Creaser together, Gary Hand from the 75 team, along with 6 of his teammates. Just absolutely terrific. And of course, JJ as well. So we did cover the 30 years very, very thoroughly.
What's really interesting is to see, you mentioned a couple there, but to see the players who obviously play in the same positions, but in very different, eras of their time.
Well, Joe Jacobson said to me afterwards that he didn't really know anything about the earlier times, and to meet the guy that John Bignell introduced rightly as the best left back that we'd had probably in the amateur game to the best left back we have ever had in the professional game, it was absolutely terrific, and Joe was really taken with that, as of course he was with his birthday present, the leak.
Yes, that was very appropriate.
It was, and I even managed to get a bit of Max Boyce into the video as well.
It was fantastic to see those montages and the goals as well. There are so many that you forget, of course, but it really brings back those memories.
Yeah, I was thinking about doing, and I probably would have done if I'd have had enough time, the goal of the 30 years. But when I started looking into it, there were some phenomenal strikes by unlikely people, really. Steve Brown had a fantastic goal. Hakan Haratin, a marvellous long-range shot, and so many of them. And of course, as you mentioned earlier, Scott McLeish, who won goal of the season in 2007-2008, and who was really, really honoured, to get a special award as being the top scorer in our EFL history.
And great to have Simon Garner as a guest as well.
Garnes was great fun, wasn't he? When I rang him up and invited him, he said, well, I was only there 2 years, And I said, yeah, but they were very, very vital 2 years. When you consider he played in that cup, in that playoff tie against Preston and scored twice, and then formed a relationship with Cyril Regis the following season. But what a character. And of course, I did ask him how his book sales were going, because he wrote his autobiography just last year. And he said, how many of them would you like? It's a hard job selling books. And in fact, he decided, which was very, very nice of him, that he would give one to Scott McLeish to show him how he could have scored a lot more goals. And Scott, of course, took it in great spirit and refused it.
Really nice to get some great names of the club there as well. Steve Hayes was in attendance, who fans may not know, played a big part in the establishment of the Ex-Players Association.
So it's a good one, that. Hutch and I did a dinner for the 2007 side to coincide with 50 years of them appearing in the FA Amateur Cup final against Bishop Auckland. We got the Bishop Auckland side down. We got the FA Amateur Cup, the original thing, brought from the FA with 2 minders, I have to tell you, and it cost us some money. And one of the remarks from one of the Bishop Auckland players was, as the night progressed and we were showing highlights of the game and interviewing all the various players, he said, "Hey, man, this is wonderful." He said, "Just think what you could have done if you'd have won." And it was quite true. It was a marvellous night. But what happened from there was that Steve Hayes then took over the club and had seen that, saw all the publicity and the video that I did on the Lokes Park years, and said, why don't we, Wycombe Wanderers, have an ex-players association? And he said to Hutch, what do you reckon? And Hutch said to me, what do I reckon? And look what we let ourselves in for. 15 years or more later, there we are, still pounding away. But Steve was the guy that gave us that initial spark. We didn't think, it was going to happen. But Hutch and I sat down, scratched our heads, opened the phone book, started ringing around a few people, because there wasn't any kind of record of the players once they left. And I'll tell you one little story, Colin, that I went through the phone book and looking for all the names that I knew, and a great help was Steve Peart's book, The History of Wycombe Wanderers. And I was looking up Merrick, and there were two Merricks in the phone, and I thought, well, one of these must be Les Merrick, who played, in fact, I played with him at school, and he played a long time at Wycombe Wanderers. And I rang up, and the woman answered the phone, turned out to be his wife, who I knew, Sue, and I said, trying to make it as friendly as possible, is the Stag around tonight, please? She said, the Stag? You mean the fat... And I was a bit shocked, actually. But apparently, when he was at Wycombe, he was known as the Stag. Dear old Les, great goal scorer, lovely player, had put on a little bit of weight, shall we say. But it was only his wife that could twist the words around. But that's how we got the people in the first place, because we didn't have the social media that we have today. And it was kind of hard labour. And then we had the first game against Chesterfield when we invited everybody down that wanted to come. We got 120 ex-players down for that game, and it really flourished from there. And then, as I say, going back to last Friday, we were then able to call upon what I would describe as more modern players. And to have Bayo there, as well as JJ and Beanie, who is one of my favourite guys. And I mean, wasn't it wonderful? I was able to show the video and then ask everybody in the room, were you there when Beanie scored? And everybody, and I mean everybody, even Bayo, stood up and clapped. And I thought that was great.
It was a fantastic reaction. And also from your very earliest days through to Friday night, fundraising is something which is key to you. And that was, as I say, very clear at the event as well.
Well, we've raised about 60 grand over the time. It wasn't, to be fair, one of our main aims to start with. It was just getting the association off the ground. But then we thought, well, okay, we're the only club that I know in the whole of the Football League that charges ex-players to become a member. And we've had some very kind of, what, you want me to pay to be a member of a club that I was playing for years? But anyway, people got used to the idea. So we got subscriptions in, and then we started making a little bit of profit on our various events. And we decided that we weren't going to throw this money away. We would look every year for a charity, and we've tried to address that in relation to footballers in the main, which is prostate cancer. This time, the Alzheimer's Society, things that have affected our members and players in general. And we think we will have made a record amount this year. I'm not going to tell you what that amount is because Vince Faulkner is still doing the figures. He hasn't paid all the bills yet. But we think we're going to have a record sum this year to give to Alzheimer's Society, which is just a wonderful, wonderful thing.
Well, congratulations on a fantastic event. It was a pleasure to be there and chat to many people that I did, and really enjoyed it, and look forward to following and covering more from the Ex-Players Association on the show.
Thanks very much, Colin. As always, great show.
Real pleasure chatting to JDT John Taylor, who's the Vice Chair of the Wycombe Wanderers Ex-Players Association here at Wycombe Sound.
Across High Wycombe and South Buckinghamshire, and on your smart speaker.
Play Wycombe Sound.
This is Wycombe Sound.
Final part of this week's Wycombe Wanderers Show. Still to come, we'll hear from manager Matt Bloomfield ahead of the trip to Lincoln City on Saturday, returning to action after the international break. But let's briefly switch our attention to Wycombe Wanderers women on Saturday. The under-18s, they're at home at Burnham taking on Wimborne Town. Then on Sunday, the development side are away to Abingdon United. And then for the first team, who are doing really well at the moment, I don't mean to sound so surprised. I didn't really sound surprised at all. They're making the comparatively short trip to Woodley United. Pleasure to speak to many of the players, of course, each week on the show. This week, we'll be catching up with Danielle Puddefoot, who arrived in the close season, as you might have heard on a recent edition of the show, with another teammate. But she's been playing football for some time.
Yeah, I started when I was 5. I was with a boys team. Really enjoyed playing with the boys. I think you develop like different kind of strengths and stuff. Obviously, the boys' game's a lot more physical, so I think that's definitely helped develop that side of the game for me from a young age.
And what was the process like for finding your position? Was there one that you always wanted to be, or did you try several first? Or?
Well, I was actually a striker until I was about 21. And then I dropped back into like the 10 position, attacking midfield. And then I actually found myself playing holding centre mid when I was about 24, 25. And then since then, that's the position I've been playing.
So would you say that's your preferred position?
Yeah, I do obviously like going forward and attacking and definitely getting shots off on goal. I wouldn't mind playing in the 8 or the 10, but I think holding centre mid kind of suits where I am at right now. I'm not 21 anymore, so I can't be doing box-to-boxes. But, yeah, no, centre midfield is where I'm, happy playing and contributing to the team.
And have you noticed your own sort of game development, especially in recent years?
Yeah, for sure. Obviously, as you get older, you get a lot more experience playing in, different leagues, playing against different opposition. And it's the best way to develop. You're only going to get better as you get older. I think, for a woman, probably peak is around 27, 28, maybe 26. So, as you get older, you definitely learn more about the game, understanding of the game, opposed to when you're, a bit younger. It's all about, probably fitness and more so of the enjoyable side. But, yeah, as you get older, you are obviously learning more and more about the game.
And I imagine as well, it must be great for you to have taken bits from, playing at different levels and at different clubs as well.
Yeah, for sure. It's obviously it's nice to bring my experience to Wycombe and try and help some of the younger girls' development as well. And I do enjoy that part of the game as well. Bringing the experience, from playing Tier 2, Tier 3 to obviously bringing that to Wycombe. I've enjoyed it so far.
So we should ask you a bit about how your move to the club came about, because I don't know if you know, but we had someone by the name of Kayla on recently, and she said that basically that she came to the club because of you.
Yeah, I poached her. But no, me and Kayla were at London Bees together a couple of seasons back. So I knew Kayla before, and I was at Stoke City last season in the Northern Prem Tier 3, and I didn't know whether I wanted to kind of hang up the boots or whether I was going to continue to play. And I was looking in the summer what I was going to do, and then I obviously saw that Reading, unfortunately, obviously had to drop from Tier 2 into Tier 5, and with that being the most local club for me, it was an opportunity to revisit a team that I grew up playing with, and from the age of 11 all the way to 18 I was with Reading. So I thought, why not go back and help try and build the club back up? And unfortunately, during pre-season it didn't quite work out for me, and I decided to obviously transfer, where I obviously said to Kayla, do you want to come to Wycombe with me?
It's fantastic. It's some sort of like multi-buy. So, you get one, but then another one comes as well. It's a brilliant kind of package, if you like.
Yeah, for sure. And obviously when Cole initially, reached out and, mentioned Wycombe, and I knew already some of the other girls there at Wycombe. So it was one that I wanted to try, and I thought, why not? Obviously, we both had signed for Reading, and I didn't expect to probably jump ship that early on, but you just got to do what's best for you at the moment. And I guess Wycombe was where I felt more more suited to. And then I said to Kayla, do you want to come along as well? And, that's that. And there we both are, signed for Wycombe.
And does it feel like you've come to Wycombe at quite an exciting time with the other new signings of the summer and what's already at the club?
Yeah, it's the day we arrived and we had our first session. I initially, felt quite at home, and everyone made me feel super welcome straight away. And I knew that they had obviously signed 3 or 4 new players as well, a couple that I knew already. So yeah, it was good to add to that and add to Cole's squad. So yeah, no, super happy with that.
And both you and Kayla and some of the others as well really bring that creativity and an attacking style that perhaps was needed.
Yeah, for sure. And obviously speaking with Cole about last season, is that might have been the area that they wanted to kind of strengthen, is to score more goals. And I mean, the front three so far are definitely bringing that. And, I think all over the pitch we're getting better each game, and we're looking pretty solid all over. So yeah, it's an exciting squad to be a part of.
And congratulations for your goal on Sunday as well. That must have been quite special, especially after the injury that you had recently as well.
Yeah, it's always good to chip in, and any goals, assists. I'm just happy to kind of get 3 points for the team. It's like I said, it's always nice to try and chip in and help with the scoreline. But at the same time, we are obviously all on a mission to win the league. So it's quite nice to help out, and yeah, especially after an injury, it's obviously nice to get some minutes and try and build that fitness back up.
And as we say, great that you can bring out experience from other clubs and other levels as well into the Wycombe team and hopefully help them get that promotion.
Yeah, for sure. I've only actually ever been promoted once, so I've always wanted to do that again, and I've always found myself in a team where I'm either like maybe second or third and we've just missed out, or more so mid-table where results haven't gone our way and we probably could have finished higher. So it's definitely, an exciting team to be a part of where, there is that chance of promotion. And I do think, with the squad we've got, the whole squad we've got, we can definitely fight for promotion, if not get it.
And what would you say are the main strengths of the team?
Main strength? Do you know what? I just actually think that obviously we can score goals. I think the one thing, we're not sugarcoating it. To win any game, you need to score goals. And, we were at times struggling, and we were always kind of conceding a goal. Even though we would score more than we concede, we were still conceding. And I think we've definitely tightened up at the back now, and we've got a lot more clean sheets coming in the last few weeks in the league and stuff. So I think the whole strength is the fact that we are scoring more than we're letting in. I know it sounds very simple, but that's how you win football matches.
No, absolutely. And I think it's really interesting for fans as well to kind of gauge how you find combining, obviously training twice a week and playing on a Sunday with your sort of out of football life as well.
Yeah, it's tough. I've pretty much worked 6 or 7 days a week doing personal training, so it is a very physical job. I'm in the gym every day, I'm lifting every day, and then alongside with football, it is quite demanding on the body, probably hence why my nice young age of 32, I'm feeling a few niggles. So, yeah, no, I definitely think, it does take its toll on the body, but it's keeping me young, I suppose.
No, absolutely. And I guess a really nice release as well for when you are playing and training as well.
Yeah, for sure. And, when you are injured with football, there is always something you can be doing. And I think, obviously, just because of, my background and my job, I can do a lot of rehab with clients and stuff. Anyone going through injuries or niggles and stuff like that, I think that gives me that edge where when I am injured, I can do a lot of, rehab on my own, where I have that knowledge to kind of get back maybe a little bit sooner than others who are maybe not getting the access of physio and treatment all the time.
And since you've been playing, have you noticed a real increase in the popularity of women's football?
Oh yeah, for sure. I mean, when I started, you wouldn't get much support. You were, oh, you play football, oh cool. Whereas now it's like more and more girls are getting into the game, and I think it's great. You see the England women's team, having a sellout at Wembley, and obviously when I was playing there in the under-17s, obviously we didn't have that. So yeah, no, it's definitely improving, and I think it's great that more and more girls are getting involved from a young age, and hopefully it can continue.
And I imagine really nice for you as well to kind of inspire younger players and really, have any questions that they may have answered as well.
Yeah, for sure. And like I said, I like I like the fact that the team that we have at Wycombe has, a vast variety of ages. Like there's young girls coming through, the under 18s. There was even one in the squad on Sunday who was maybe 16. So, it is great that, they're able to kind of push up, and any young girls looking to get into football, I think it's a great strength for them to be able to play with, women who are older, who can, help them develop their game as well.
And what would you say your own kind of personal aims for this season are?
For this season, yeah, for sure, promotion. I don't think I would have signed if I didn't think that, we couldn't get it. And initially, that's probably why I made the transfer so early. Even just after one session, I liked, the professionalism within the club, the whole setup. I thought it was very professional, especially at Tier 5 level. The whole analysis, everything already set up. I think at that level, I think I was actually, a little bit surprised that it was that professional. Not going to lie, I was pleasantly surprised, and I think the ambition in the club is great, and I think the support we have as well is fantastic, and I think that, along with obviously the ability of our squad, I don't see why we can't get promotion, and I think that's what all the girls are, here for.
Well, we wish you all the best for the coming season. It's been brilliant to speak to you. Thank you so much for your time.
Cheers, Colin.
Great chatting to Danielle, who will be in action, no doubt, on Sunday for Wycombe Wanderers Women. We'll hear from Dan Rice, who is speaking literally now at the Fans Forum, which is at Adams Park, as I say, literally as we speak, which you can hear on Wanderers TV in full afterwards. You can tune in now as well, but hopefully you're listening to this now. Ahead of that, Matt Bloomfield, the manager, spoke to Phil up at Creswick's AstroTurf.
Gaffer, we're off the back of the international break. First and foremost, a good couple of days rest?
Yeah, I think we've had some real good work as well over the last couple of weeks. I think we went after a couple of bits that we thought we could tidy up on. Some of the things we wanted to obviously keep. The work the lads have been putting in recently has been fantastic, and they've been getting some good results. But we've all, what we're like. We're always after try and make those little adjustments and improvements, and the lads have worked really, really well. So we're looking forward to getting back into action.
And I'm sure the start of the week, when everyone was back together again, was a nice moment too.
Yeah, absolutely. You spend a lot of time together. You're in each other's pockets for most of the year. So to have a couple of days at home was nice. But I must admit, Sunday evening I was raring to go again. Looking forward to the week ahead.
And Lincoln City, it's always a tough place to go. I think we've had some really brutal games there over the years. And are you expecting the same this Saturday?
Yeah, it's going to be a tough one. Scoobs has done a great job. He's a great guy. I really like him. Obviously, done a great job since he's been in there. We know that both teams have picked up a real good number of points over the calendar year as well. So, Lincoln have a strong team, really, really well organised. Know how to get results and got some really, really good players. So, yeah, it's going to be a tough test, but we're looking forward to it.
You know each other well, classmates.
Yeah, Scoob's on the pro licence, and someone who I've got to know well. Someone I really, really like him. I think he's a great guy. Really respect him. He had a great job at Leeds, and it would have been a great offer from Lincoln for him to come out of the environment that he was working in and go into first team management. But he's taken to it really well, and I've got no doubts that he'll continue in that way.
And how are the lads looking now, coming back, looking sharp and rested too?
Yeah, they're looking sharp. They've put in some good work this week, as I've said before. It is nice just to restore those energy levels, because we're going into a lot of Saturday, Tuesdays. Then that leads us straight into the Christmas period, which we obviously know that's brutal as well. So it just seemed like the right time to get them a couple of days back at home and renew that energy sources, ready to attack these games.
And you had a couple of peaks at the table in this last week or two?
Everyone keeps asking me that. I don't. You know what I'm like, mate. I can't. It's lovely. It's a lovely position to be in. There's been a lot of attention and loads of phone calls, and that's lovely. Obviously, for a club like ours to be competing where we are, it's lovely. But it's 14 games. There's 32 to go. There's loads and loads of football to play, and it's just about us just keeping our feet on the ground. The boys will do that. They're a real driven group, and we're looking forward to what we've got to come.
And it's EFL week of action. We're up here on the AstroTurf at Creswick's. We've got walking football behind us here, and we've got a girls' football session here to our right too. It's been a great week celebrating what all the clubs in the Football League do for their communities.
Yeah, and it's really important, because this is what it's about. We're really fortunate with our platform in the professional game to live our lives in football, to be employed, to be in the industry that we love. So it's great to come up here. My youngest Rosie, my oldest Molly, she's getting into her football as well. So it's nice to pay some attention to the girls' football and really help to play a part in that.
Spots and talent tonight. There's some good players here.
Yeah, I know, it's great, isn't it? It's the game. Once you get football in the blood, you can't get it out of you. So it's nice that the guys have got an opportunity to come and play, and it's obviously the game we love. So it's great to see them enjoying it.
And I guess the message is football is for absolutely everybody.
Yeah, we've spoken about it before. Whether it's in the stands, we want to invite everyone to our ground to watch the games. You want everyone to feel comfortable. You want everyone to play the sport they love. And like I say, I go and watch Rosie on a Sunday morning. And there's just football. There's girls' football everywhere. It's so densely populated now, which is just amazing. And the guys enjoying their walking football as well. Yeah, it's obviously the game we all love, and it's great to see everyone enjoying it.
Pleasure to hear from the manager who was speaking ahead of the fans forum. You can hear that interview in full on Wanderers TV. Also, thanks to Wanderers TV, we can hear from Dan Rice, who's speaking at Adams Park to the fans.
Yeah, I think, listen, when I first sat here, 6-7 months ago, there was a real clear vision and strategy that we wanted to go after, and probably sat there and thought, we've got time on our hands to build foundations, build structures, build everything around Matt, obviously the intention for the academy to come, and now we're in a position where, everything that we've built is, credit to, Matt, to the players, to the staff that have, transitioned over to Harlington, because, speaking really openly, that has been a challenge, and, to get that, such a big transition across there, and then, Matt's touched on it, Jack's touched on it, the lads and everyone involved is then bought into it, and I can't comment. There's been works going on when Matt's trying to have team meetings. There's been interviews taking place at the training ground. There's someone on the roof. So there's lots of work going in, and we're fortunate that we got pitch one. That was one of our high agenda points to make sure. And as I said very early on in the ownership when we took over, we wanted to provide an elite environment for the players, for Matt to operate, and for the future of the academy to come. So, Jack and I speak a lot around making sure that we provide that. And when you start seeing the tangibles that you see at Harlington as an example, that's I guess a proud moment for us as the ownership group to see those coming through. And then obviously, the conversion of that for Matt to go and operate Saturday, Tuesday. What we do at Harlington isn't just the big thing. It's also, we brought in, John Goodwin from a performance perspective to now sit with Matt and talk to him about how do we, get the best out of the players from a recovery perspective, performance perspective, work with Matt's team to make sure that we're preparing our players. And that's not just for Matt's team, but eventually for the academy players as well.
Real pleasure to hear from Dan Rice on the show, who's the Chief Footballing Officer at Wycombe Wanderers. He's part of a panel which is at the Caledonian Suite, featuring the manager, Matt Bloomfield, and also Captain Jack Grimmer as well, answering questions from the fans. You'll be able to either watch it now, or you can download it and watch it in its entirety via Wanderers TV, and you get some highlights on the club's website as well. If you are going to the game on Saturday up at Lincoln, hope you enjoy it. If you're not, you'll hear the whole match live here on Wycombe Sound with Phil bringing you the full match commentary. Kickoff is, of course, at 3. We've got another game next week on Tuesday against Mansfield as well.